Hi, welcome to 10-Minute Prayer School. I'm going to begin a series I call Prayer Enhancers. Prayer Enhancers. It's very good to understand ways we can pray that will make us more effective. And I was saying, Lord, what could I share that would be like a secret of intercession? Like a secret from a general. And as I prayed, I got this word that it would be good to share on the word of wisdom. How the gift of the Holy Spirit, called the word of wisdom, can help you in your praying. And we'll begin with Romans 8:26 from the New Living Translation. I like the way it says, "And the Holy Spirit helps us in our distress, for we don't even know what we should pray for, nor how we should pray. But the Holy Spirit prays with us for groanings that cannot be expressed in words." And so, many of you may be listening, you're going, well, I'm in distress, or I don't know how to pray. All of us reach that point. But the good news is we're not alone in our times of perplexity. We're not alone. The Holy Spirit is in the most complex situations. I don't know how many times I have gone to my place of prayer. I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I couldn't figure out. Things seem murky. Things seem confused. But as I began to pray, I could literally somehow sense the Holy Spirit praying with me, for me. I don't know how to articulate it in words. But what he did was give me revelation. Once we're comforted and revelation comes to us as we're praying, I call it kind of that aha moment, where one moment we're in anxiety, we don't know what to do, we're giving our burden to the Lord, and then we have this clear moment where we have the answer. We know what to pray, we know what should be done, and this answer is actually coming through a revelation of the Holy Spirit called Word of Wisdom. Word of Wisdom is something that we need to know for a future situation, but just wise understanding on how to pray, but what the answer should be. 1 Corinthians 12:8 says this, "For to one is given the word of wisdom by the Spirit, another word of knowledge to the same Spirit," New King James Version. Now notice this doesn't say all the wisdom. It means a wisdom for a portion of all of God's wisdom, a wisdom to know what to do and know how to handle a situation, the word of wisdom. Now, there are three kinds of wisdom. I was meditating on this. Number one, human wisdom garnered from a life experience. Some people can give you wisdom just because they've lived a long time, gone through a lot of things. Number two, natural wisdom, giving information you could study. Number three, supernatural wisdom from God. That's the kind we're talking about. And also, there's some categories of wisdom that we see biblically. We see in the wisdom of God. We see in 1 Corinthians 2:6 the wisdom of the world. And then Ecclesiastes 1:16 through 18, the wisdom of man. So what do we want? We want supernatural wisdom. We have an ability to move in wisdom that other people may not. And I thought, well, what are biblical instances of the word of wisdom? 1 Kings 16:28. This is the story of two women who claimed they were the mother of the same child. And the word of wisdom was manifested by Solomon to know what to say, to find out and test who the real mother was. And we know that wisdom dictated that he should say that because the real mother said, no, don't kill my child. So it was a special word of wisdom. He couldn't know in the natural who was the real mother. They didn't have DNA testing. They didn't have any of that, but he had the word of wisdom testing. And when he got that word of wisdom, he knew what to do. I call this the aha moment. The moment when the light of revelation comes on, and it's supernatural. What happens is the will of God is pulled into your prayer life. At one moment, you don't know the will of God. You don't know what to do. You don't know what you should answer. And then all of a sudden, there it is. there it is. You know what to do. I was praying just this past weekend, and I was asking the Lord, what should I do, God? How do I answer a situation? I needed some funding. I had no idea what to do. And the Holy Spirit just showed me a letter to write, an email, what I should say in it, and to actually just share my heart. That sounds so simple, but just to share how I felt about a situation, and that opened a door of revelation, camaraderie, and it gave the desired results for all of us. So when God gives a word of wisdom, it's so supernatural. It works not only for you, it works for everybody in the situation. All things work out for good. God begins to turn everything for your good. This kind comes when all of a sudden you're thinking, like right here, this is my problem. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I should do it. When all of a sudden, then you think, oh, wait, if I drew a bigger box around my problem, and that bigger box, you see, is that word of wisdom. If I draw a bigger box around that situation, then suddenly you know what to do. When my children were little, I often would get in these situations where I didn't know, but I had to get a word of wisdom on what to do. I remember one time I was taking my son, Daniel, he was 8, I was taking him to school. And we're driving along, it's 8-something in the morning. All of a sudden Daniel looks at me and dramatically says, just what does God want from my life? And I'm going, Daniel, I'm just trying to get you to school. What do you mean, what does God want for your life? And he was so distressed that I finally just turned around. I mean, he was really distressed, took him home. I thought maybe his tummy hurt. Maybe there was some other thing going on with this child. So I put him down, and he said, what should I do? And I said, well, I was telling him, you could be a fireman, you could be a policeman. I mean, I didn't want to tell him what we felt the Lord had shown us, actually before he was born, that he was called to be a Daniel, like Daniel in the Bible, that he'd be a man of great influence. I didn't want to tell him that because I wanted him to hear that. So I prayed with him, and he decided he needed to talk to God without me around. This is my 8-year-old. So I leave the room, and after a while he calls me, and I come back in, and he shared with me how God, wanted to use him to influence cultures and things, and kind of really be in a way like an evangelist to that particular culture. And he's doing that with media today. And, but after that, he got up, he was fine, went to school, everything was okay. So, but as a parent, I needed a word of wisdom. I could have just taken him to school and missed a moment, a snapshot, when God wanted to do something very particular. And as long as I'm telling Daniel stories, he's probably going to listen to this, go, thanks, Mom. But anyway, one day he came in from playing. He was 6, and he felt miserable. And rather than just saying something was naturally wrong with him, I said, Daniel, do you have a concern we need to pray about? And he said, yes, Mom. He said, could a president be killed? And at that time, it was, there was of course it was possible. I said, yes, that's called assassination. And we prayed, and we said, God, would you avert an assassination attempt on our president? And as he prayed, and we prayed together, all of a sudden, I said, how do you feel now? He said, I feel light, I'm happy. And the 6-year-old went out the door and became just a 6-year-old. But a moment before, God had called my child in intercessory prayer. Later on, we found out behind the scenes that there had been an assassination attempt on the president. Wasn't widely publicized. So be sensitive. As a parent, you need to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. As a friend, you need to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. There are times when I was praying for a friend. In fact, I just prayed for one this weekend, and he's a minister, and I talked to him, and he's had some health challenges, and the Holy Spirit had me praying for a new kidney for him. He's a young man, but he's had some kidney problems, and the Holy Spirit said to start praying now. It's time for that kidney transplant. And so I went to see him. We happened to be speaking in the same venue, And he said, "Wow, Cindy, you know, I'm just up for a kidney transplant." And I had not even talked to him probably in over a year. And I said, well, I was an intercession, word of wisdom, that God is going to bring you that new kidney. This is a prayer enhancer, word of wisdom, and God will show you how to utilize that gift in your intercessory life.